Are you guys struggling to figure out how to edit your very first narrative project? Editing isn't just about putting clips together, right? It's a process that shapes the entire story. And today, we're going to be diving into the post-production of our short film, Mia, and I'm going to guide you guys through the overall editing process using DaVinci Resolve.
They say the rapture came and went. AI runs what's left of the world. Then without the mark of the beast, you don't exist. This town might be my last chance.
Editing happens in different phases, right? There is 6 different key phases when it comes to editing. There's your logging, there's your assembly, there's your rough cut, first cut, your fine cut, and then finally your picture lock or your final cut. Seeing that this is just an overview video, we're not going to be diving into that. But by the end of this, you'll have a clear roadmap to take your film from raw footage to a polished story. Oh, and by the way, stick around till the end of this video because we got a little surprise waiting for you guys. All right, let's waste no more time. Let's jump in. We're gonna open Resolve and we're gonna start a new project. And we're gonna name it the project name, after the title of the film or the project that you're working on. And then next we're gonna click open. All right, so the very first thing you're going to need to do is go to your project settings, which you can access by clicking that small icon located in the lower right corner of the screen. Now, I know it might feel a little overwhelming at first because there is a lot actually going on right here, right? Now, literally the only thing that you guys need to focus on in here right now at this very moment is the project resolution. And this means choosing between, 720p, 1080p HD, or 4K or 6K. These days, most people are using 4K, but 1080 is totally fine too because literally there's really not much of a huge difference between 1080 and 4K. And here's a quick tip to go along with all that. If your computer struggles to edit anything higher than 1080, especially if you're working on raw footage, stick with 1080 for now. You can always change it to the resolution that you want right before you export. So it's like 4K, 6K. And personally, I find that my computer actually runs the smoothest when I'm working on a 1080 timeline. And for reference, I'm actually using a 2018 MacBook Pro with that old Intel i7 processor. Now, I found that working in 1080 does make Resolve run a lot smoother, and it's a great way to actually optimize your workflow, especially if you're working on an older machine like mine. So literally, whatever machine you have, make it work. So now we're done with the project settings for right now. Let's jump into this empty timeline, and the first thing that I always do is import all the footage onto this timeline. And to do this, you can do it in several different ways. You can either right-click in the media pool, select import media, and navigate to the folder where your footage is saved, which for me is on my external hard drive. And what we're going to do here is that we're just going to select all the files and click OK. Or if you guys prefer, you can simply select all the files, drag and drop the footage directly into the timeline, which will automatically create that new timeline for you guys. So either way works perfectly. I normally just like to drag and drop. That's my personal preference. And you can also drag and drop the clips into the media pool instead of putting it into the timeline. And there's a method behind my madness. As soon as you guys import the media, Resolve will ask you if you want to change the frame rate of your project, okay? You got your footage frame rate and you got your timeline frame rate. And that's what Resolve is asking. Do you want Resolve to match your footage frame rate? Now, remember earlier in the project settings, we only set the project resolution, right? And it wasn't the frame rate itself. That's why this pop-up actually appeared. Resolution's 4K, frame rate can be 23.98, 24, 30, 60. That's the project frame rate. You have clips with multiple frame rates on purpose. I wouldn't allow Resolve to change the frame rate, but if all your footage is in the same frame rate, go ahead and click change. Quick tip, just remember this, the higher the frame rate, the more flexibility you'll have to slow it down in post. For this video, we're gonna keep things simple, so we won't dive into all the frame rate details or slow motion tricks. We'll go into that in a different video later on when we dive into the separate videos and going into more in depth on everything. We are gonna create a bin in the media pool by right clicking in the media pool and click new bin. You're gonna label this as synced, and on a Mac, you could press Command plus A on your keyboard or just select all the clips minus the timeline. Then you just drag and drop it into this new bin here. This will at least clean up your master bin for now and it doesn't look like a chaotic mess. At this point, we should have all of our clips in the timeline. If they're not there yet, well, don't worry. Just highlight everything in your media pool and drag it over to the timeline. That's actually this section right here. This is your timeline. When you guys look at all the clips, like literally observe all the clips, you'll probably notice there's a lot to work through, right? There is a ton of clips to go through. And that's where we actually start the culling process. Now, normally on sets, you will find a very handy person called the script supervisor, or a lot of people call them the scripty. And literally, these people are not only handy, they are a godsend to have on any production, because they will write down notes on, you know, the good takes and the bad takes. And like all the notes that you will get, this will greatly help you speed up the culling process. Now, before I even begin to edit, what I like to do is go through each clip by one and watch it through and then delete anything that isn't usable. If it has bad composition, shaky footage, or just doesn't look good, I just get rid of it. Like I just delete, boom, and it's done. It's really that simple. But if you guys had a scripty on set, then you will have the notes and you can use those notes to actually go through all the shots to cull out the bad takes. Now, I will say it is a lengthy process, okay? I'm not gonna lie, it takes a while, but the more organized you are, the smoother this workflow will go. For now, we're just cleaning up things and just to make like the timeline more manageable and keep it more organized, right? That's the first process, and I feel like the most crucial process there is in order to keeping everything easy and organized while you're editing. The next thing we're gonna do is import all the audio that the recordist captured, and we're gonna sync it with the video. But it's absolutely worth it because it will speed up your workflow tremendously. Instead of trying to find the audio that actually goes with that clip, you'll have it all in one timeline. Now, if your sound recordist labeled all the audio folders by scene and take, which is amazing, it actually makes things so much easier and faster. What we'll do is we're gonna look at the slate here at the beginning of each shot, which has the scene and take numbers, for example, like this one. And then we're just gonna locate the corresponding audio folder, which is right here. My recorder is Steven Wilson. He's absolutely very, very organized, and that's why I always used him. I've used him for the past like 6 years. And he just has a way where he just makes this process super straightforward. When you open the folder, you will see typically individual tracks, and yes, the tracks are not labeled, but I know how my recordist works. He always normally sets track 1 as the boom mic, and any additional tracks are set to the lav mics that he puts on the people. What you want to do here is just drag the audio under the corresponding video clip on the timeline. Don't delete that top audio track, your source audio, your scratch audio. You do not want to delete that, okay? Because we're going to use that as reference, and I'm going to show you guys how to sync it both ways. Now, each audio source should have its own track on the timeline, like this right here, right? And this will help with layering and deciding which audio sounds best actually for the final cut. It's very important to actually organize each track and name them, okay? And that way you actually know what is what when it comes to editing. Now, once you've added the audio tracks, you can then easily sync the audio to the video. And for example, we will be using this scene right here, which you can see it says scene 5A, take 5, which says it on the slate. All you gotta do is highlight the footage, the scratch audio included, right? And all the new audio tracks that you just imported right underneath that scratch audio. And then you're just gonna right click on it and select auto align clips. Now, Resolve will ask if you guys want to synchronize by waveform or by time code. Now, we'll cover both options in another video, but for this project, we shot using time code, so we're gonna stick with that. And below the time code option, you'll see use track number, which is actually grayed out because it is using time code, not by waveform. And if you don't have the scratch audio, this is where, you know, time code becomes a must-have for a production. Now, if you do have scratch audio, you'll have that waveform right there, right? Underneath track 1 is what I normally keep it at. For waveform, this option will refer to the scratch audio track that you have, and this is why I emphasized earlier not to delete the scratch audio, because you're going to use it if you want to synchronize it by waveform and not by time code. Both methods, waveform or time code, they work very well. But I did notice sometimes that the time code is a lot more accurate than the waveform. And the waveform can be just like slightly off just by a hair. So you want to watch out for that. But other than that, you know, I want to stress it. It makes it so simple nowadays to sync audio. So I want to stress it. In the master bin, you will create a new bin for each scene. You can then highlight the footage and all the sync audio and just drag and drop it into that bin for that specific scene. I already created and done this for you guys so you guys can actually see what it will look like after the process is actually completed. The next thing you will want to do is to go to where your timeline is, and you will see this little icon that looks like a grayed out timeline, right? And you're going to click on it and make sure that the displayed stack timelines is actually checked. And if it's not checked, well, check it, because this will allow you to have stacked timelines, and all that organization that you did will make it easy so you can just go one timeline to another, right? And with this, you will then be able to open your sync timelines to copy and paste it into your rough cut timeline. And this is why doing all that prep work prior to everything actually just speeds up everything. Now, creating the story on this, I want you guys to think of it like assembling a jigsaw puzzle. Like, every piece of the puzzle, it has a place. It needs to go somewhere. And it is up to us to actually find where that piece fits. And, you know, like I said in my prior videos, the script is just a blueprint, you know. This right here, this is where the story actually unfolds. You hold literally the master key in your hand, so not to scare you or anything, but it's actually true, you know, because the script is a blueprint. This is your master. You're creating the master right now. Now, what always works is to start a scene with some sort of establisher shot. That's if they actually got any, and if not, you can actually find some establisher shots using stock footage, like I use Motion Array a lot of times to get stock footage. Establishers are simply shots of the surroundings so that the viewer knows where the video is actually taking place. Let's just say 2 or 3 of these establishing shots will work right here. This will be enough to actually show the viewer where we are, and then it will lead into establishing the main character, Mia. Now, this scene is where she's actually walking towards that old building, but she is remaining cautious. You know, she's looking out to make sure that she's safe. As she is turning her head, we can then go back to another establisher shot, you know, just to see what she's looking at. So we're gonna go ahead and just split this clip. And in order for us to split this clip, all we have to do is put the playhead where you want to make the cut, right here. And then you can use the blade tool, or on the keyboard, it's mapped to B as in Bravo or boy, and it will actually cut it. Or you could click split clip. You can actually remap all the shortcuts wherever you guys actually are wanting. You just have to go here to the keyboard preferences and then just find split clip and remap it to a key of your preference. And then we're gonna see how she turns her head here in a bit. Well, this clip to right here, and delete the parts I don't need with the delete key. And then we're gonna put them all together. And then it looks like something like this. And if the timing is not right, you can always trim your clips a bit because when you actually make a cut or when you actually split the clip, the part that you actually delete is not gone. It's actually right here. You can actually see it, right? You just have to put the mouse on the edge of the clip and then it'll turn into this symbol, this icon. Do you see it? And then all you have to do is just drag it and it will reveal the part that you deleted by accident or you deleted on purpose. And again, you can remove a bit more from it or, add to it. It's up to you guys. So you guys can still tweak everything at any moment by trimming the clips. And if you want to trim a bit more accurately, it's always best to disable the magnet right here. And well, that's basically it. That's all the tools you will need to create a basic cut of this scene. After the rough cut is done, our next step is getting into the scoring, and it's time to find the right song for what you're trying to do, because we want to edit at least scene 1 to music so that everything just flows more nicely. And I mean, there's really no dialogue at all in scene 1, so we got to have something in the scene, not just ambient noise, but something just to carry the audience and make them want to be curious on what's happening. Music, in itself is super important. And it's not only to create the mood and atmosphere, but also to better understand the pacing on the entirety of the scene that we just cut, right? It does make it easier if you're working with a scoring artist per se, which is someone who will go through and compose the music according to the director's guidance and vision. But for this, we don't have the funds for scoring artists. And so for this case, we will make things work using royalty-free music. And there is actually literally a bunch of websites out there for royalty-free music, right? There's tons of libraries out there like Artlist, Epidemic Sound, Audio, Music Bed. For this, we're going to actually use audio.com, and we're going to mix it in with a little of artlist.io and see what we can find. The thing about audio, though, or audio.com, I have recently found audio has the best avenue because, let's face it, it takes hours, like hours, if not days, to find the right track that's going to work for your film. And with audio.com, it has this AI feature called Hans, or Hans. And it just saves me a lot. I mean, literally a lot of time and headache when trying to search for the right track if by using this. Now, I know you guys might be asking, how does this work? Well, instead of using like filters to find your song, and all you need to do here is just tell it what you need with a little text prompt and it will find the perfect match for you. It'll give you like a list of like 6 different songs right here, okay? Or you can actually find music like a movie close to it, like Eradication, which is what we're going to use. We're going to type in music like Eradication, and this was one of the results. And once you found the perfect song, you're just needing to drop it right there on your timeline under your video clips and just play your sequence. So put the playhead at the beginning of the sequence, hit the space bar and let it play. And now it's basically a matter of, feeling it out, figuring out exactly the pacing that you're trying to go with. And when you actually should cut to that next clip itself, based on the beats and the pacing of the music that you picked out. Normally it's the other way around when you have a scoring artist. Since we didn't have that luxury, we had to do it this way. The first clip is also way too long, so it needs to be very short. and to the point. So all we need to do is put the playhead there and trim the clip or split the clip and the lead part, and then move all the other clips. Or you can also set the playhead to where you want to cut and hit the shortcut for ripple trim and to the playhead. Now, if you guys are remapping your ripple trim, there is an in and out point on your keyboard customization, just to let you guys know. I have my in point on my ripple trim and or starting point mapped to 3 on my keyboard, and the out or the in part of it to 4 on my keyboard. It just makes everything simple. Just find one that works best for you when you want to do your ripple trim. And when you hit that shortcut though, it will trim the clip and move all the other clips behind it automatically to the left. So it does speed up everything. And then you just need to keep doing that for all the other clips until you find the right flow for that scene. And you just keep playing that scene and feel it out. You know, you'll probably play it thousands upon thousands of times. You might even have the song memorized by the time you get done with that scene. It's all about pacing. It's all about timing. You know, you got to feel the whole scene out and feel the mood, feel what she's feeling, and, you know, get everything right that way. Now, with that being said, there are no rules for this. You are literally the artist forming the story, and it is literally up to you to feel it out and cut it to what best fits the mood and pacing. And when you're done with your whole scene, don't worry about the length of the music track. Just trim it to the length you need the track for. And what I do is then move over to the Fairlight page and find the end of the track, and then cut near the end of the track itself. And then we're just going to drag it over to where we want it, which is right here. We do that, we're going to move your cursor over to the corner of the music track, and you will see a white box, like a white boxy arrow thing, this thing right here. And you're just going to click and drag it in, and it will create this like crossfade into the end of the track, and it'll be very smooth and seamless, you know. And then all you have to do is use your blade tool and cut the excess off of the beginning track, and it should flow smoothly. If it doesn't, then try to line it up a little bit better, and then it will smooth it out. Now, here's a quick tip. If the layer audio isn't working, you may not have it selected. And to fix this, all you have to do is go to the top of your screen here and click timeline and make sure layer audio editing is checked. Okay. If it's not checked, then check it. It will make everything a lot more smoother in the transitions. That way it can help you layer your music or your score and your sound effects. All right, and that's it. This is my process to cutting down the rough cut on the first scene. It's literally figuring out this puzzle, right? And when you do this to every scene, then you got your whole rough cut. You know, with the rough cut, you're not normally gonna do the music, you're not gonna do color grading, you're not gonna do anything like that. But since this is an overview video, we are going to dive into the color page, and I'm going to show you guys, you know, the basics of the color grading, and we'll dive into a little bit more of it in a different video. This is just a beginner video though, so I'm just going to show you guys the super simple way of doing it, and we're going to be using Kazi's toolkit to do so. Now, some of you may say, well, why not use an adjustment clip over the entire timeline? Let me just say this, I'm a perfectionist, okay? I like to make things complicated, but there is a method behind my madness. You see, you can do this. You can put an adjustment layer across the entire timeline, grade on it. But the issue that you're going to run into doing it this way is that you don't have individual control on each clip. And what is the first thing that you got to do when you're color grading? Well, that is balancing each shot, right? And matching them, matching scene by scene. I am not one of those guys that's going to steer you guys down a path of cutting corners in order to get something done. Now, I want you guys to learn essential practices that set you up in the right direction for success. And that's why I don't use the adjustment clip, because I don't have the individual control behind every single clip. So I'm not using the adjustment clip method. The next thing we're going to do though, in order to actually make this work, I will set up 4 nodes here, and 2 of which will be just my proper conversion, which I mean like conversion into the right color space. We got to go back into our project settings for a second and go to the color management tab. And then on your timeline color space, I use DaVinci Wide Gamut and DaVinci Intermediate. And on the output, I just put in Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. Now, make sure that the thing down here is set to tetrahedral, and I also click on Make Broadcast Safe, and now you can click Save. Go to your first clip and navigate to your effects on the right side and click Color Space Transform. You will then set what the footage was shot on, like right here, and the output, you're going to put DaVinci Wide Gamut and DaVinci Intermediate. Now on the last node here, you're going to do the opposite thing by adding another color space transform, only the output will be Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. Now also on this last node, you're going to check under tone mapping, like do a check mark right there and click use custom max input. And I slide it all the way over to 10,000 nits. Now, when you guys turn the first and the last node off, if you guys put your camera settings in the first color space transform and you turn both of them off, it shouldn't be doing anything to the footage, right? This is how you actually know that you have a proper conversion from your log camera to Rec 709. Now on the timeline side right up here, you're going to click that right here. So you will see no nodes right here, right? And what I do is I press Option S. This just creates a new serial node for the shortcut, and you're just going to create that node and then go to dctl. That is right here in your effects, right underneath right here. And on the dctl, I will put in Kazi charts. Now, these charts are a godsend, like literally godsend. And I do constantly go over this in detail in other videos, so be sure to check that out. But here we can click on false color, and that's what we're going to use. And we're going to go back to the clip where we have the 4 nodes created right here. And the next node will be our balancing node. Okay, we want to make sure everything is balanced. I always balance for the skin tone, and I say that, but let me explain. Because every skin tone is different, but typically you want the skin tone to fall between mid or mid-gray and or +1, which is like a lime yellow on this false color. Once we have the exposure, though, the way that we want it, we are good to go, right? No. We're going to set the contrast properly. And to do this, you can use the pivot underneath the contrast right here on your primary wheels and type in 0.335. Typically it's around 333 to 335 on the pivot scale, and this will help you get your contrast right. And we're just going to play around with the contrast here, and this will keep it all in the middle gray area. All right. This is a good ground because it will fall in the middle gray. I also typically like to work this node on a linear space because everything that you do on the linear space actually makes it more organic. And I absolutely love working in the linear space. It just makes everything simple. It's like you're working out a camera versus actually working on the editor, if that actually makes sense. I hope it does. You just have to right click the node and go to gamma and click on linear, and boom, it's done. We will adjust the color, temp, and tint. We will go back to the timeline and we can check off this false color right here, and we're going to click on the highlight right here. Yes, the highlight indicator. Now, typically I adjust the white balance according to the whites, right? The brightest part of the image. And when the brights of the image are going into brown, that means that you have good whites. Like your whites are crystal, you know, they're crystal clean. Yeah. You can use the tint and temp sliders on the primary wheels until the highlights or the brightest parts of the image are in pure white, or as this thing shows right here, it's brown, but you get my point, right? You will know this because it will turn brown, indicating it's properly balanced. Now, you can leave it here and it would be a perfectly balanced Rec 709 image. We will then go back to the timeline and turn off that node by pressing Command D on your keyboard, Command D. This is the way I have it mapped right now, but I mean, I think it's typical standard Command D. But again, you can set your keyboard preferences to the way that you are wanting to work. We can go back to the clip node tree, and trust me, Kazi thinks of literally everything on this toolkit. So the last empty node right here, I'm going to put another DCTL. And for this one, I'm going to select look DNA and scroll down to the preset and select Kodak 2383. The beautiful thing about doing it this way versus the LUT that DaVinci offers is that you actually have full control over every single parameter that is going on within this LUT. And that's what makes it so vital and so useful to use. Now, the LUT Resolve it's limited, okay? It's set up for a Rec 709 color space, and you can use this, but you would have to first convert the last color space from Gamma 2.4 and put it into Cineon film log because it is made for the Cineon film log, okay? But you're still going to be limited into that Rec 709 space. So you would have to create that extra node, which actually adds on more time, and then you can drop that Resolve 2383 on it. And the reason why I just don't like it, the other thing is that it's an extra step for one, and two, you don't have full control over every parameter like you do with Kazi's toolkit. Now, if you don't have Kazi's toolkit, you can actually purchase by clicking the link in the description box below. And trust me, this thing is a true hidden gem and it will save you guys tons of time. Just do it, okay? Pull the trigger, get Kazi's toolkit. You guys will thank me. All right. I talk about it in all my other videos. You guys can go through them and see what everything does with Kazi's toolkit. Now, when you have that clip done, you can just copy and paste it between each clip and then rebalance the shots, but your shot should already be balanced, right? Throughout the whole scene, it should already be balanced. It should already be matched. So it should be able just to copy and paste it throughout everything. Or you can create this DCTL on the timeline side and just make it to where it's everywhere. Typically, the look is the final step, and my first process is to balance the shot, match each shot, like what I've been saying. But since we are only working with the first scene, this will work for now, okay? Now, just remember that if you do decide to use any other LUT, they're not magic, okay? They're not going to convert your image to make it look like amazing right out of the thing, right? It's not. Normally, you should use them in combination with actual color grading, but I would keep the LUT as the last node, and everything before it you can use to correct it. Okay, so we're getting to the end of the wire here, and finally we're going to add credits and text. There's a reason why movie titles always have specific designs and colors and animations. A lot of work actually goes into creating movie titles, but you know, for this instance, DaVinci Resolve thinks of everything as well, and they have a lot of built-in titles that you guys can use, you can tweak, you can customize to your liking. And if you guys don't like that, then you can go into Motion Array. You can also use Canva to create your own. I mean, the possibilities are endless. But for this, we will just use this simple title at the beginning, and we're just going to drag and drop it. That's basically it, guys. Like, you only need like less than a penny, like this 0.000000001% of all the tools and features that Resolve offers to create a movie scene, like how you want to see the whole movie. You know, try it out. And I'm sure you guys can do this, okay? I'm 100% sure that you guys can do this by now. Especially if you guys been paying attention to the past videos, I'm sure you guys can get this down. Just keep practicing, all right? All right, so we made it to the end of the video, and guess what we are giving away? We are giving away a copy of DaVinci Resolve Studio, and I hope you guys are excited about it. Now, before we actually end this video, I want to take a second to just say thank you. And whether you've been here since the start of our channel or you just found us by a fluke or you searched us, I want to say I appreciate you guys, because this whole thing, like teaching, sharing, and creating, it's new to me, and it only works because of you. So as a way to give back, I'm doing this giveaway and giving you guys DaVinci Resolve Studio. And if you guys know my giveaways, that means that there's no strings attached, no gimmicks, just something to help you guys keep going strong in the creative world. I know how tough it can be trying to make films on your own, okay? I understand the struggles, the long nights, the budget struggles, the financial issues, the moments where you actually just question if you're even good enough. I've been there, and it's not fun. But here's the deal. I just want to hear from you guys on this giveaway. We're doing a whole raffle, and the question is what is your biggest struggle as a filmmaker? That's it, okay? I want you guys to click that link in the description, fill out a quick form, and answer that one question, and you guys are in. No subscribing, no liking, none of that. Just show up and be real, okay? Because you got till February 14th to enter, and I'll announce the winner on February 21st, so check back. Now, unlike all my other giveaways, this giveaway is going to be open worldwide, but some countries, they do have some weird rules about giveaways. And if I run into any issues with that, I'll figure out a fair alternative. So no worries, just enter in, okay? Oh, and one more thing. I'm working on something big for you guys, like huge. And it's going to be a challenge, just for all you guys. It's going to be a one actor, one location, and nothing but your creativity to pull it off. I'll share more with you guys soon, but just know if you ever wanted to push yourself, this is going to be for you. Okay? Just letting you guys know. Look, I know what it's like to feel unseen in this industry. I do. And that's why I do all this, because you guys matter, your stories matter, your voice matters. So enter the giveaway, keep creating, and I hope that you guys win. I look forward to this. I look forward to seeing who actually wins this copy of DaVinci Resolve. And we will see you guys next Friday. As always, practice and create.